Happy Friday, my OTSOG family. Unfortunately, because of copyright issues, I had to cut the video out that we are reacting to. But I believe that this conversation is very rich and it's full of a lot of details. So you will still be able to follow along. So the conversation will continue. There may be parts that are connected to the video that you may or may not get, depending if you've seen the video. But the conversation shall continue. So I hope you still enjoy this conversation. It's a rich conversation. It's a conversation that left me thinking and pondering like, dang, we got to do more. So once again, happy Friday. Welcome to On the Shoulders of Giants. Let me stop talking and you go ahead and enjoy the video. Just wanted to give you that heads up. Happy Friday. Welcome back to Breakdown Friday. Joseph Ward, Professor Carl Tone Jones up in the building. And then we got my man Patrick Irvin up in the building.
Really?
I got sounds and I'm using them. Guess what? We got Joseph Ward in the building.
That probably could have been my sound.
Hey man, so we here exploring various topics using this video as our foundation for our talking points, but exploring various topics because that conversation started off talking about the YN apocalypse. And if you don't know what a YN, that means young N word, young Negro. Basically, we have a lot of uncouth, and YNs are more so young black men. But we have a large population of young black people running around here acting foolish because that's what they were taught. And why were they taught that? Well, because the family unit don't exist. Survival units exist. But also, we want to take a look further back. We want to go back maybe to the 40s, 1940s, 1930s, 20s, maybe before then. Even looking at slavery, taking a look at slavery and then bringing it back forward. Because we're assessing the quality of black relationships throughout the years, throughout the centuries, throughout the decades, because we're always talking about the marriage rate of black people prior to 1960s. But what was the quality of the relationships between black men and black women prior to the 1960s? Because we know the quality of the relationships after 1960. But the live video we're doing on Tuesday, we were looking at welfare. What they say, welfare was passed in 1962, and then that video that we were looking at the debate that the black men and women were having, and the conversation was surrounding the revolution in the black community, the new black woman, the revolutionized black woman, the new black man, the revolutionized. But my question was, well, why did Pat was talking, I was like, well, what spurred black women to need a revolution, and whose idea was it? Of course, we know it's outside forces, but also what internal forces led to that as well. But also, that was a quick erosion. That was 8 years from 62 to 70. That was 8 years. So what was the quality of relationships like before that, for it to erode to what it is now, to having conversations like this in 2025? But if we look at it from 1962 to 1970, it was a mass erosion of black relationships and the way black men and black women see each other. Or are we short-sighted in the relationships wasn't as quality as we thought? So that's what we're getting into. So make sure y'all hit that like button, comment, subscribe, share, because we finna dig deep. I'm gonna start with Pat, man, because you know you was you had the little smirks on your face. You was moving your head around. Somebody said something statistically wrong. I know. So let's go ahead and what are your, first of all, what are your thoughts about, you know, they're talking about we're not just gonna focus on the young black boys, but they're talking about the wild children that's produced now, but the quality of the black relationship, quality of the black man, black female relationship, but also, you know, looking back at the quality of black female male relationships from a historical standpoint.
Well, I was laughing at a couple of moments, particularly with the whole when she started to talk over him and he did
Yeah.
that whole thing. I just thought that was funny and performative on both of their parts. I'm sure it probably was a genuine interaction,
Yeah.
but that whole piece, right? Like to me, and I get it. There's a brother here, he's trying to assert himself, she's trying to cut him off, but he's trying to maintain whatever. I just always find those interactions funny because I don't have them in real life. Those interactions. So it always looks fake to me. So I always laugh at it. And if you are a man and you are constantly having to do that, then you know it's one of two things is going on. One, you need to stop talking to the women you're talking to. Or two, you're not the man you think you are. And it's one of those two. So, but that's neither here nor there. Because I don't know this man or this woman. It could have been pure performance. And I do know there are a lot of people out there that like to interrupt you. Why are you still talking to them? So moving forward. But then like so I take umbrage with this idea that fatherhood is a magic salve or this balm to solve all the community ills, right?
Let's
This
get into
idea
it.
that all this missing in the community
It's
is
the
black
father.
fathers. That's all. Like if black men just show up, all
No,
the problems will be
that
magically
ain't it.
fixed immediately. Like, and
That's
it's
no, but that's a good one because the problems when the black man was in the home prior to 1960, the problems wasn't solved.
right. And so that's where we're
That's a
taking
good
that
point. No,
highway
that's a great
on the
point.
journey back.
That's a
Because
great point.
another great point that is made as we had this conversation, and mind you, everything the brother said, no disrespect to the brother, but everything he said is just a talking point.
Right.
So I'm not even sure how much thought he's really put into it versus did he just hear a Dr. Umar lecture and ran with it? If the black community was as strong as we say it was, how did all of this happen? Like how, like literally, how did it happen? You could say, yeah, the government put these things in and they sung this song to the black women, and the original Beyonce was Uncle Sam, and all that's cool. I get it. Nice, wonderful. Why did she listen?
Yeah.
If the black community was as connected, strong, and solid as you say it was,
Right.
why was the government able to come in
And move
and
us
say,
out.
hey,
Right.
get rid of that dude and I got you? Why was that a thing that even happened? But it's like we don't even address that. We just say, well, the government did it. No, yeah, what the government did set up a system, but why was it utilized? Well, black women. Well, yeah, no, wait a second. Why did she not value you enough to say, I'm going to stick with my man over government aid?
Right.
That like that's right there. Like it's literally right there. Whenever you say the government broke up the family, hey, that is like that's literally like right there. Like turn your head, look up to the side a little bit. You see that? Yeah, that's that question I just asked. So you know, in all of these statements we make about the strength of the community,
Yeah.
embedded in those statements, when we look at what's happening right now, it's like, okay, there's a disconnect here. And we know what we're seeing right now. And we know what the government did. Well, the only place left for a disconnect or an inaccurate portrayal of what's happening is in our remembrance of what happened. How were we in the past? And that goes into the frequent statement made on this channel from just went black, but y'all know who I'm talking about, where it says everything has been analyzed, but the role of the black women in the community. I'll take that one step further. It's not just the role of the black women in the community. It is the true and accurate portrayal of the black family structure historically.
Right.
That
Right.
never been to the degree that we've analyzed white supremacy and everything else. That has never been scrutinized with that same level of
No,
scrutiny, to my knowledge. Now I
that
know,
that's real.
but to my knowledge, that has never been scrutinized to the level that it needs to be scrutinized. And then once we scrutinize it, we need to start propagating the outcomes of that analysis. Because I really think the way we view the black community historically, yeah, your grandma and your grandpa was together,
Yeah.
but Papa was a Rolling Stone, and
And
30% of the kids grandpa raised wasn't his.
they would cheat. Yeah, grandma and grandpa was cheating on each other. Like grandma and grandpa, and we're not saying this is across the board, but it was enough. Grandma and grandma cheating on each other, grandma and grandpa beating on each other, grandma and grandpa, and that because
I'm saying it was across the board because I like look, every older uncle I got and every older man that I've talked to
what see you made
has
me think about
spoken
my
to,
family.
yeah, how they
Yeah.
used to put women over their knee,
Well, not well, even but I
how
have
they
a
used to run the streets, how they used to do this and that and the third.
bruh. I have an uncle who between the ages of 15 and 16 had about 6 different children with 6 different women.
Yeah, like, and the sassy black woman, that's not nothing new. The black woman that don't take no trash.
Yeah.
Just look, all these women, y'all ain't new. You learned it from your mama. Well, if you learned it from her, where did she learn it from? Like we keep, grandma was cool when grandpa was around and it was people around. We don't know how, obviously she wasn't cool all the way because look at how you act. Where did
Well,
that come from?
no, but and look at the lessons that were given because I always think when I hear women who married at a young age, they are the a lot of them they give advice to younger women to go out and explore life and all these things here. And I've always like, well, damn. But we have to analyze the quality of these relationships, though. PC man, jump on in here, man. What do you think about the overall conversation that the quality of the relationship, the 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 presence of all these crazy ass kids that we got, the underanalyzation of the black family that lead to us fussing and fighting against each other where we are now.
Well, I think that we never examined the origins of the black family here in America.
We
We
haven't.
often talk about the and there's some books out, but it's just not widely spread.
Right, right.
So um but the black family did not immigrate here. In fact, black people here are not from one particular area of Africa. There's probably 10 different regions of Africa that black people came to America. The culture was mixed, the culture was modified, the language was stripped, stolen, and 90% of the people brought to the black people brought to America, Africans, were male before 1811 when they ended the
Right.
slave trade. When they said no more transatlantic slave trade. And then they started bringing the women in to create breeding colonies. So that's you have, and we've all heard the stories about the origins of the buck breaking, in which the black male was the dominant black male was raped and sexually assaulted in front of in front of the entire batch of slaves on the plantation, beaten to within an inch of his life to force submission from the rest of them. We often talk about how the women who were paired up with these men, it wasn't a natural pairing most of the time. It wasn't a situation where they came here with the dreams of building a family and legacy. Black people needed each other for survival purposes. The whole notion of the
Oh
buck
man, yeah.
and bringing into
The buck and the Jezebel.
right. Well, you bring the buck into the stables, the young black male who had just crossed puberty, and then you put a young black girls, or you put all the black women, including his own mother. You put a sack over their head, and then you send them into the stables, and that was procreation. That was their procreation moment. But it wasn't children conceived in love. It wasn't children conceived with the notion of building family. And then you look at, yes, on the plantations, they did develop some relationships. They would jump the broom, but it wasn't a natural formation. It wasn't like, if you look at, let's just say you talk about the European immigration periods between the Civil War, antebellum Civil War, and then all the way up to the early 1900s. You brought people from Italy, you brought people from Ireland, you brought people from the Dutch West Indies, all these places. Well, the Dutch were here before them, but when you brought them here, they came here with a culture. They came here with a language. They came here with the understanding. They came here with the religion. They came here with the folk ways and the moral ways of their people. We have consistently been trying to redevelop that. That's why you have so many black people in this sector right now who talk about a back to Africa moment when none of us even really understand African culture. Because the culture that Africans practice today isn't the traditional African culture. Most of the African countries that you go to, their native language is not their first language. Their first language is French. The first language is Afrikaans. The first language is Dutch. The first language is something other than whatever their homeland. That's why we always talk about Swahili. And Swahili was the language that was developed in Northern Africa to make it easier to develop trade.
By the Arabs,
yeah, and easier to infiltrate the rest of the continent. So when you have all those things mixed into the origins, this was dysfunction waiting to happen. So when you create the war on black men,
say that word again.
When you create the war on black men, and you create the black codes, the slave codes, the black codes, you start creating the vagrancy laws and policies, to which, the whole notion is we have this European concept of, man needs to be provider and protector, right? That wasn't the African concept. That's the European model that we've been using, protector and provider, right? Because in Africa, if you want to talk about going back to Africa, everybody didn't get a woman. They were shared by the chiefdoms, and they were shared by the higher ranking members of the tribes. Everybody didn't get a woman. So, but now, you get here, and then there's this value system that's put in place that's imposed on a people where you have taken away access to wealth. So how can you be a provider if you've taken away access to wealth? You've already buck broken and gone to war and lynched black men on occasion, sometimes even putting black women in position for which they can weaponize the white man's whip, the white man's gun, the white man's authority, and the white man's ability to put the black man in his place. Dr. T.S. Johnson calls it blue leashing, right? So all of these things are put in place, and then you create the plantations for which, once you implemented black women on the plantations, they then became the head of the black family on the plantation. They became the big mammies on the plantation. All things went through her.
And the black man became soft.
Well, and that was because they removed the plantations where you had dominant black men. They removed those black males.
Deliberate, right?
They were rebellious, and then the young men under them would become rebellious. So, and you can go, Judge Joe Brown did a series of videos talking about how he studied in the Library of Congress about the phenomenon that created docile black males on the plantation. And they said when they replaced the leadership with black women, they noticed that the males were less likely to rebel against the authority. They were less likely to try to escape. They were less likely to conspire against the plantation master. They were more so, as you said, they were more likely to appease to the desires of the plantation because they operated like the women.
I just wrote down remove strong men, endorse weak men, right? Because now, so it may because we spend a lot of time analyzing the results, right? How crazy black women are, how crazy black men are, or black females, black males, and black children, because we got to earn the spot of woman and man. So we crazy as hell. We're like Neely Fuller said, we are insane, but it's a reason why we're insane. It's the reason why the black females operate the way they operate. It's the reason why the black males operate they operate. It's the reason why the black children are running amok. It's the reason why all these groups, all three groups, are against each other. It's the reason why the elders are against the youngers. All these things here.
Well, that was systemic.
Right. It's a war. It's
divide and conquer. You put all and that's another aspect of it too, right? So you have the divide and conquer aspects put into it that we all are familiar with the Willie Lynch letter and so forth.
Right. But also remember, what you just said though, you remove the strong male. So when it came to the political prisoners, lock their asses up. Even like some of the OGs that was in the streets who had some sense, lock them up. Then now you got weaker males running around making babies. And then you got generations of weak ass men making babies with crazy ass females. And that's how you get YNs and I guess male and female YNs in 2025, right?
Well, and I think I heard, because I watched the breakdown the other day, your live show. And the brother said something profound. You typically don't see the results until several generations later.
Yeah, we were talking about the revolution of the fan when it's slow. Yes.
And so we didn't see the full results of this concept of black people being forced to be together, right? Poverty stricken, no access to wealth, being forced to live with each other. Family values down the drain because it's a survival. When you're in survival, the ethics of your people, is based on whatever you need to survive. And so when you're in survival, you might not even like this dude. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, most people that got married didn't like the person they got married to, but there was a sense of duty. Unfortunately, that comes with the development of certain understandings of your lineage and your culture. We didn't have that. There's no connecting factor. So when black women were given the opportunity to break free, let's face it, they created a whole new stream of feminism just for black women.
They did.
Where it wasn't based in economics. It wasn't based in political power, the right to vote, this, that, and the other. They created social aspects of feminism because they said that black men socially dominated black women because there was no way that black men could hold black women under their authority because black men didn't have the power to have the authority in this particular country. This is a white man's world.
So, right, and the social domination was a lie because we've never been in a place to dominate in any fashion.
And correction to this is not a white man's world. This is a white woman's world. I'm not gonna let her off the hook. She run him.
There you go.
When I say white man's world,
no, I get you.
Yeah. She don't get off the hook. Definitely don't get off the hook. When I say that, and I'm just for clarity, what I'm saying is laws and policies are put in place by white men. White men gave white women the privilege because at any given time they could take that shit. They gave white women the privilege. Now, white women master manipulators of all of this shit, but so they're always behind the scenes, they browbeating the men into doing things. In fact, a lot of the people that got lynched was because of white women. So you won't let this N-word do whatever. And somebody got strung up. Somebody got tied to a stake. So, they definitely don't get off their equal partnership. In fact, the whole concept of feminism was about being equal partners in the domination of with white supremacy with white men. That's the whole push behind feminism. You mean you want to tell me you want to let this Negro vote before you let your woman vote? Oh, hell no. We're going to have a suffrage movement. And so, but the problem is they didn't have the numbers. And, and the show how fragile the conditions in the Black community was. Even when the Black women joined the feminist movement, it was segregated at first.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of sisters overlooked that. The movement was segregated.
They pulled the old I call it the old was Charlemagne? No, Constantine. Yeah, they put an old Constantine move. Hey man, if we can't beat you, we're gonna join you, then beat you.
Well, go ahead, Pat. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, PC.
No, I was just gonna say, but it wouldn't have been there. It wouldn't have been there if there was something stronger, culturally speaking, spiritually speaking, to hold us together.
Right.
It wouldn't have existed. Black women and white women had the same options when it came to welfare and the man in the house rule.
True.
But, for the most part, and let's be clear about this too. After World War II, when white men came back, the GIs and all them, when they came back, they created specific jobs for white men to keep them employed. They had white men chopping down trees in the woods. They had white men going around cleaning up the block. They created spaces for white men so they could still be gainfully employed. Therefore, their women would, and they didn't face discrimination and work sites. So therefore, their women they had better options in terms of staying home or being with their men. But culturally speaking, they were going to still stick with their men. And let's also be clear about something. White men were far more abusive than Black men. The term wife beater comes from the fact that so many white men were wearing that shirt when the police would show up and he done beat the hell out of his woman that they called that shirt the wife beater.
Yeah. I mean, they have done a great job of distracting us, breaking us down, helping us degenerate. Because the discussion on Tuesday, it was an important discussion. But I'm glad we're having this one because we're able to take it a step further, but dig deeper into the past, but also really take an examination of ourselves. On this channel, that's what we're doing. We're examining ourselves as Black people as best we can. We social scientists. That's what we do. We examine ourselves and we examine the world around us. Go ahead, Pat.
Well, I think another thing and even to PC's great point about the return from World War II and feminism and all this other stuff, those women, a lot of them, I would dare say most of them, weren't forced out of the factory job. They left voluntarily. They didn't want to do it no more. There are a lot of books, reports, and videos about women a few weeks in, like, no, I don't want to do this no more. They couldn't wait for their husbands to come back home. They were excited to return to quote unquote to the kitchen.
That's why I got the baby boom.
So
they started making babies.
But even that becomes this narrative because that like a lot of modern history now is being shaped from the lens of those men came home and started raping their women.
Raping.
Raping. Sorry. So I'm sorry. Those men came home and started raping their women. So a lot of that, but I do want to say one thing with regards to the video though, because
I'm gonna go back.
There's something that I think is done way too often, and I understand. I'm not even being critical of him for doing it, but I do think it's something that needs to be called out. And this assumption of difference, and we like to do this, especially when we're talking about our partners. I don't know if the brother has a son or not. From the way he structured that sentence,
no, he was saying like he had daughters,
right? And that's what I was saying. From the way he structured that sentence, it led me to believe that he only has daughters, and he said, in my house, since I don't know what it's like to be a woman, I step back and let my wife lead. If we had sons, she would step back. That's an assumptive sentence. You don't know that. It's easy, and that's one of those things where, like I said, it's another one of those statements of difference. And we do this in conversations with each other, and it leads to harmful beliefs about the true nature of what's going on. You have said now that men need to be in a leadership position. But when it comes to raising your own children, you've said you're not in a leadership position simply because you have girls. But the assumption is that if you had boys, you would be allowed to be in a leadership. And it's easy for a woman in that situation to say, absolutely, I would do that. It's a whole different dynamic to actually be in that situation and have to do it.
Damn. No, but y'all got me over here thinking like we know that we are supposed to be behaving in insane manners because of the way we've been programmed, everything that has happened to us over the centuries. We know that, but like to really dig deep and really kind of take a closer look at like how messed up we are. Like if you manage to have if you manage to have a semblance of a healthy relationship, then you doing good. Because the standard is supposed to be toxicity. The standard is supposed to be survival. The standard is supposed to be strife. The standard is supposed to be stress.
Yeah.
It's always been survival units. It's never Black America has never truly had a true family unit.
Well, and this is why I'm calling out this assumptive statement. It's not that I want to slander the brother and his wife or anything like that, but it's more of a continuation of the narrative that we're trying to push back against. If you're a man and you're supposed to lead the house, right? Like that, if that's what we're saying, then you're supposed to lead the house, period. It don't matter. The kids in the house, you're supposed to lead the house. So now, if we're making this assumption that in my house, I don't take the lead with child rearing because we have daughters and women should take the lead, that is a very slippery slope into an argument that then says, okay, so if women are taking the lead when raising girls anyways, then one, why is a man needed if a woman is going to take the lead anyways? And two, why are all of these girls who are raised with mothers in the lead turning out the way they're turning? Like there are more questions in the way you're phrasing things, and you're making this assumption that if this was not the case, then we would move. Well, we don't know that. And according to what we can see with the way the Black community is operating now, if you had sons, you would still take a back seat to your wife.
Remind me of a time in American history where the Black man at large, or
Never.
Right.
Never.
The Black man has never been in the lead. The Black man has never been in the position of leadership or power or authority in this house or outside the house or nothing in America. We've never been to that. So, because we hear conversations like this one that we're reacting to, they're always talking about Black men have to lead, Black men need to lead, Black men need to be leaders. I was looking at a video earlier today, Jeff, that we did a reaction to not too long ago. And the thing is, yes, Black men are supposed to be the leaders. Well, no, we're not.
Even that, hold up. Even that.
No, we're not.
Who says Black men are supposed to? Who said?
Well, of course,
if we've never been in the. So this statement falls in the line of the matriarchy would be the better way to. How do we know? Can you point me to a matriarchy that's worked out?
But that's why this conversation is important. That's why this conversation is fire, because with just that, the Black man in America is not supposed to be in the lead because the Black man has never been in the lead. And anytime the Black man has gotten any close to the lead, it's been in a partnership in an egalitarian system with the Black woman.
So,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, PC.
No, go finish. Okay.
But even in that, black men, so because everything is framed under this lens of patriarchy, right? And
Right.
even that has a negative connotation.
Right.
So we say black men are more egalitarian than other groups of people,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
Even that statement has a built-in assumption that the black man is still dominant. Black men are more egalitarian, meaning we're more equitable in terms of the way we manage and distribute power with our women than
True.
other
Okay.
men,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we
Well.
still have the power. Like
Right. We
all of
don't.
these statements are built in. So I would say, would the community be better off if men took certain types of men took more leadership roles? Absolutely. But now, how do we get there if that's never occurred before? And even with that, I think one of the things that happens is a lot of these conversations about black people are through the lens of black nationalism. And we do know that in that movement, as PC can definitely speak to this better than I can, but in that movement, there was a lot of men at the lead and on the visible level. So in the 70s and whatnot, you had a lot of men in leadership positions, and that is part of the rife that was able to, the division that was able to be created. Black women wanted to be out front in the movement, and they met resistance there. And so, and that was from a pure, in my perspective, that was from a position of truly just having a different lens based on biology. Men said, this is dangerous. We don't want you out here. Women were told, and I'm not going to speak to what women felt because I'm not a woman, but women were told these men just don't want you out front. Now, there were some men that actually said that. And so now you have this divide, which grows into this whole conversation about the power of black men. But you're taking this one small group and you're applying it to the
What?
entirety of the community. And is that an applicable
Well,
application of it?
the traits of patriarchy that apply to white men, they apply to us, but it doesn't stick because it's
Well,
not
Yeah,
hold
they
the
on,
call
same.
Joe,
that
because
flat.
PC was fixing to jump in.
I just want to say
Well, they
that
call
real
that
quick.
flat maleness, like flat men, like flat maleness, like across the board. We get roped in with the negative connotations of the patriarchy and how it dominates culture, but we don't have the power to
Right.
actually to fully, and whatever, we don't have the power to. I don't want to say enjoy because I don't, but we don't have the power to be in that position. But it, um, and and I think that because it's so dysfunctional, and we've had these conversations before, the three of us, we need to tear the shit up and start over.
Yeah. Yeah. We got to start from the
Culture,
bottom.
like, listen, there's a reason why we talk about N-word culture and why low vibrating culture is so acceptable amongst our people. It's programmed into us because that low vibration is a measure of survival. And it's to the point where it's so dysfunctional that when you put people of means together, they still can't survive. There's this because and you know, Nearly Fuller said it great. Black people can't get along with each other. So you witness this conversation, right? You know, when the young lady and Dave were talking, it wasn't about a building session. This was
Right.
combative.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's what you see when black
Jockey for
men and
power.
black women start talking. Right. Thumb wrestling to see who is going to dominate. So in the battle, eventually one side gets worn down, the other side says, I'm not fighting this fight. And then we go into all the toxic traits that are the repercussions or the symptoms of the failed culture, but we don't we don't get into the root of it all. And it's been designed so that the women never truly respect the men
Yeah.
of the culture. And so there's a disdain. And, they talk about this in the white and in the black manosphere a lot. They say a lot of black women have a self-esteem issue because black men can't elevate them to white woman status
That's
in
an
the
insane
society.
issue.
Huh?
That's an insanity issue.
But when you look at it from a perspective of why is it the disdain? Why is the anguish there? Because typically speaking, I'm not just going to be, one side or the other, but it's something we've never examined. Why are the sisters so sassy? Why are they so angry? And then we get into the thing that I hear, well, black women are this way, black women are that way, but
Well,
they never
now we have to
deny
explore
being
the quality
angry.
of maleness.
Well, but they never deny being angry.
Right.
And we call it masculine energy, but it ain't masculine, it's toxic. And
It's
then it's not masculine. It's like
at all.
masculine energy is masculine. Masculine is positive. Toxic energy is toxic.
Well,
Being rude, being abusive, being abrasive. Those things are toxic.
that's why I always say what I say. So you mean to tell me somebody who knows nothing about manhood, didn't experience a whole lot of manhood in their lives, all of a sudden just got all these male qualities? No, once again, like you just said, you ain't masculine, you an asshole.
But and this is why I bring it down like that. Because we live in a matrifocal society. And it's convenient to say that, hey, all the sisters are out there. Hold on, I got a sound bite. Hold up, I got a sound bite that we can listen to that goes directly into this. This is what is it? I forgot her name. Something Pope.
Wilhelmina Jenkins.
No,
Black women are excelling. They're getting accelerated degrees, graduate degrees, doctorate degrees. They're starting businesses. Black women are running circles around men.
Why the hell are we having this conversation?
I seen that. That was a recent conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Why? Why is the comparison? Because then they'll be like, why are the men always comparing themselves to the women? I don't see a bunch of men comparing themselves to the women.
But it's by
in our community.
It's by design.
But when you talk about this dysfunction, and you talk about this, and we bring it up, we're the bad guys for bringing up things that are being said for real. So, and I don't want to make it out to be, because when you have a situation, it's a hyena culture. In the hyena culture, the males are weaker than the women. The males are smaller than the women. The males' lifespan is shorter than the women.
That's why
we have a hyena culture.
That's why they're angry.
And so, but it's designed because it was designed for us to operate like this.
But like you were saying earlier, we do have to look at the source of that anger and see what part does the lack of black masculinity play in that.
But and that's where I disagree again. I agree with y'all. I do think we have to look at the anger of black women.
Right.
I think we need to acknowledge it, accept it, understand it is there. I don't think it comes from a lack of black masculinity.
But but no, it's an assumption that we can explore. Not necessarily. I'm not saying it as it's a definite, but it's something that can be explored.
They can't even tell you why they mad.
Okay.
Because it's innate. And so when you see, like, most brothers, and let's be clear about something the young lady said, because she started talking about the numbers of available men, this, that, and the other. 80% of the brothers are invisible to these women, to all women. They ain't even just black women. 80% of the men are invisible to the women. They only talk about the top tier men, or they talk about the bottom rung where they can control them. So the men that they want, they have to share. But the men that they'll settle for, the men that, the men that they can have access to, They also share, but he don't have to be accountable for shit. So he can have 20 baby mamas and 38 kids. And we've seen situations like that. This dude don't have a pot to piss in or window to throw it out. But this is the standard. And this is what we accept.
Survival.
And then when we say, look, listen, man, and I get in trouble for this, right? But we just had a young sister in this city, right? Who there was a search because she was kidnapped. It was alleged that they thought that she was kidnapped. Turns out that, you know, apparently she had a date with somebody, or somebody picked her up from work, and a half hour later, you know, allegedly she was no longer here. It just took them 2 weeks to find out where she was buried. Right? Now, I get in trouble because I say, listen, we need to when we talk about protection and provision, we need to instill certain values in our women. We need to instill certain values in our women so that they don't just get in anybody's damn car. So there's a level of discipline, there's a level of discernment that allows them to think critically about the situations. But you know what I get told? I get told, why are you policing them? They should be able to do what they want. This young lady did what she wanted, and now she's not here. There's a grave consequence for this. This is what protection is. And so, and I don't want it to always seem like I'm addressing this, but this is the one part nobody wants to address. I'm not talking about y'all. I'm just saying, period. This is the one part nobody wants to address when we talk about the dysfunction of the culture. And what I'm saying is it was orchestrated from the beginning. That's why I went through the beginning when we first started talking about how we didn't come here on the Mayflower. We arrived at the bottom of the Jesus Christ.
So, but
that was right. Amen.
But and I'm glad you ended with that. So with that, everything you just said, but ended with that historical context, are we even in a position to give correction and direction?
No.
So it's like, so we're literally we're going to be spinning around and going in circles for the longest until what?
Well, because here's the thing, right?
I don't know the answer to this.
Here's the thing, right? Because I agree with both of you guys that it was, and I agree with a lot of people. I think most people have come to the conclusion that the system was designed to be this way. Here's the part I disagree with. That matters.
It doesn't, but it doesn't. That's why I always give the analogy. If somebody come in your house and spills whatever, they pee on your floor and leave, no matter what, you got to clean your house.
Because
have you been to the project?
Because what's happening is people take that, it was designed to be that way, and they use it to remove accountability from the equation. Just because the system was designed to be that way, that look, marriage was designed for a certain purpose too. How many, if it's not being used the way it was designed by most of us? Divorce was designed for a specific reason. Don't nobody care about what that reason is, and I ain't gonna give it, because again, you don't care. If you did care, you would know what it is already. You wouldn't be waiting for me to say it. So, like, we have all of these systems at work that were designed for one thing, but now are being utilized for something totally different because people realize this system doesn't benefit me. So I need to find a way to work the system
that benefits me best,
in a way that benefits me. The problem Black men and Black women are having is that we have derived two separate benefits from this system.
Yeah.
And we are okay in large, in mass, with those separate benefits individually. We're not okay with those separate benefits collectively. And so we're trying to figure out how to solve this collective problem while maintaining our individual benefits. And that is going to be the problem that we're consistently facing, which is why when people are constantly moving in between the two lanes of micro and macro. They're like, oh man, men of this, men of that, men of the third. And then a man comes up and says, well, what about women? And they say, I'm not that type of woman. You just conveniently switched from a macro track to a micro track because the argument no longer suited you. You're doing the same thing in these relationship conversations, both men and women are. I know I'm using women as a hypothetical a lot, but that's an acknowledgement. Both men and women are doing that because men want to, in theory, this is what they say on the intranets, out here in these intranet streets. I'm a provider, I'm a protector. Yeah. I just want a woman when I come home, she happy to see me, the food is cooked, she naked, and she ready to wet it down. That's what I want. All right, cool. Can you do any of that stuff that you said that you do? Like, that's a valid question for a woman to say, okay, you want me to do this, this, and this, but can you take everything off my plate so that I can do everything you want me to do? That's a valid question. If not, then maybe you need to drum what you saying back a little bit. What can you do? All right, I'll meet you where you at. You can't take everything off my plate. So maybe I'm not in the kitchen naked every day. Maybe I'm only in the kitchen naked half the days because you can only take half the stuff off my plate. The other days, leave me alone. I got stuff to do. The stuff that you can't take. So like these types of conversations where it's like there's compromise on both sides, but then getting us as a collective to agree with it. Because women, you hear them saying, I just want a man to come in, pay my bills, take care of me, and just make my life easier. Do this, do that, and the third. All right. Well, if I do that,
what do I get in return?
What do I get? And that's the conversation we keep having. Like, they get mad.
But once again, we spinning in circles and circles and circles with no solution, and none of us have the answer.
I have the answer. Go ahead, PC. No, go ahead, PC. Cliffhanger. Go ahead, PC.
The answer is, first, we have to dissect the problem. And we're not, like the conversation we were just watching. There's no, they were jockeying for position. You know, you had Dave over here, black women do A, B, and C. The sister said, well, black women got all these degrees, black women got these accolades. Where are the black men that can do this to that? It's not a conversation based in trying to build, trying to break down and build. Right. It's not a conversation based in a positive result. This is a pissing contest, these conversations. And our relationships between black men and black women are a pissing contest. And, you know, it's not going to get there. And this is why, because this is the one thing we're going to probably disagree a little bit with Pat. Because it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter, you know, about the mess in terms of the culture, because we should be doing what should be working best. The problem is when you're setting your ways and you're setting your train of thoughts. We've learned, especially considering the therapist track that we're on, we've learned, right, that unless a serious trauma takes place, most people are unlikely to change. They're more likely to try to justify their position over and over and over again.
Absolutely.
They're less likely to change. They're less likely to even consider the possibility that there could be a flaw in their thinking. I can be totally flawed in my thinking. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people who believe that I'm totally flawed in my thinking. The thing is, and I've said it all the time, and we talked about it, I'm about black people winning, period. So when I'm speaking about the issues, we've dissected for the last 60-something years everything wrong with black men. We've gone, matter of fact, you go back a century or more, we've been talking about what's wrong with black men. We do not talk about the other side. We do not say, well, sisters, these are some of your shortcomings because it's offensive. Now, what happens? This is like the whole hamster wheel situation. If you never address the situation properly, you're not going to go nowhere. We could just be talking and talking and talking, and we're not going to go. There needs to be a serious self-analysis by both black men and black women to look internally at where we are effing up.
But we soft as hell.
Well,
we
black men, but black men have been.
Before you keep cooking, PC, I just want to intersect real quick because I know we're going to get off this point and then I'm going to let you cook up because I agree with you about 97.6%.
Very New York to you. Very New York.
So the only part I disagree with, that 2.3% is not even really a disagreement. It's just a perspective. I don't disagree that it matters from the standpoint of actually solving the issue. What I'm saying when I say it doesn't matter is for the average person, it doesn't, the way they think about it, it doesn't matter. That's what I was speaking to. Just the average person with the average perspective. That's all.
No. And I get that. And I get that because And we talked about it in the Independence Day Project, right? Sister Kara Poole talked about the fact that, you know, if you go to Chinatown or whatever, most people aren't like scholars in terms of the culture, but they understand the ways of their culture. They understand the expectations of their culture. And this is one of the things we talk about in terms of black people. Like, we love to say we have culture, and we do have certain cultural strengths, right? We're very creative, we're very artistic, very spiritual people, right? We love to talk about that, but then we don't like to talk about the other parts of the culture that are tearing us apart. We hate authority. We got men that are not men anymore. These are young males who are of age. They can be responsible adults, but these brothers have never truly understood. And that's because we don't have the blueprint for what a black man is in this country. Let's be clear about something. Black people were not.
Please, I'm sorry. Say that again. You have to say that again. You have to say that again.
We don't have a blueprint for what a black man is in this country. We don't have it. So when people talk about the expectations, what they're doing is putting a black face on a white man about what we're supposed to be doing, what the expectations of for us. We have never had a chance to self-actualize as black men in this country uninterrupted. We have never had that opportunity, and we have not even looked at it because we're too busy surviving. We haven't had a chance to catch our breath to figure out what the hell a black man is. We've gone through the journeys. We've had conversations with each other. We've had building sessions with each other where we sort of break down this, and we have the real conversations, right? We go deep. We have some intimate talks and conversations in regards to black manhood. You know what I'm saying? Yo, cool. Pause. You know,
you said we go deep. Is that a pause? I don't know. I'm asking.
Well,
it is now.
We do. We have. Well, what I mean is we have. Well, you know what I mean. God damn it! You're trying to get me to clean it up.
I was just. I didn't.
But that's why you the chef, man. That's why you chefing over. No, but seriously, like I needed you to repeat that because it's real.
We don't have the blueprint for manhood.
We don't know.
We've tried, right? We tried to create one.
Yeah, and then you talk to people, and their pride gets in the way.
We tried to create one, and well, I've tried to be a part of several groups that have created one. Now, the first time I tried was with the three of us.
Yeah, but we go ahead, Pat. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No. I'm just go ahead. No, go ahead. You cooking?
No, because we have some seasoning, and we have had these conversations, and our egos get in the way of us accepting our limitations. It gets in the way of us accepting our shortcomings and where we have to build. And I'm talking about as black men. It gets in the way because pride plays a role in that. And as long as I got this thing between my legs and it can get stiff as a log, you can't tell me I'm not a man. And the problem is that's not what makes you a man. And so, and learning, not just being a man, being a black man in this country, learning to navigate, understanding that you're under constant ridicule and attack, and you have to have a warrior mindset as a black man. You can't get comfortable as a black man because the war is upon you, and understanding that. And so we internalize. And what happens? These young boys, the reason why they hang with each other is they're in search of something that's missing, masculine energy. And that's why you see music videos, 30 young dudes in a room with no shirts on, bouncing around, acting crazy. Back 20, 30, 40 years, you ain't never see that. You know, one time we was in the movie, we was looking for some women back then. But nowadays, these dudes, like the whole notion is so screwed up and so convoluted because they don't know what it is. I was talking to a young brother today. He said, nah, I don't fight, man. Why would I fight when all I got to do is lift up this steel?
Right.
And I said, that's one of the biggest problems we have right now. I said, we have lost about a third of a generation because you young brothers don't even want to do the gladiator work of building brotherhood and manhood. We would fight on the basketball court, finish the basketball game, and go home and eat food together.
Be cool.
We ain't even related. You know what I'm saying? But see, like even that aspect of camaraderie and learning to get over the hurdles that get in between us. Like now you got these boys with the sensitivities of females. So now their feelings get hurt. They on social media, and now they're out in the street holding grudges. And this grudge got to be settled in blood.
Got to
we
be.
We don't want to accept that. But so that's one aspect. And I'm not even going to say it's because the fathers aren't home, because some of these young brothers,
they got daddies in the house.
They got it from their daddy.
We've done enough research. Black men, we cannot use that excuse because the fathers are, we've said it too many times. The fathers are in the home.
I freaking hate that. There are a few things I hate.
The fathers are in the damn home. They are in the home. The
fathers,
we've been failing each other.
Mind you, that book was written. Now I know it came out late, but that book was written in 2011, 2012. This is before the CDC report. So the CDC report confirmed what was in that book. This narrative, this notion that all you need is black men to fix it. Stop. Nope. I don't even like. Nope. And as a black man, I don't want that. I don't want that on me because I know that it's not accurate. So now you get a black man, you don't change nothing else. You just put a black man in that environment and stuff keep going the way it's going. And it also creates this narrative where now we're saying that black people that grew up with fathers are better than those that didn't. Nope. No, they're not.
Nope.
In a lot of situations, look, anecdotal, I'll say this. Anecdotal, yes, I'm going to say it, my personal business. I'm going to put that out there. My relationship with women that don't have fathers is oftentimes much more healthy than the relationship I have with women that do. Because fathers do this weird thing where they think that their daughter is royalty and every man is supposed to treat her like that's the princess treatment. Yeah, that thing that's destroying women. Like, we gotta stop with this. Daddy, if you a soft dude, if you're a horrible dude, if you a bad dude, if you just an ignorant dude, if you're not a forward thinking dude, you just real short term, if you just want to make the women around you feel good, if you that type of man, chances are you're raising a daughter that is going to raise some man's blood pressure and kill him early. That's what you're doing.
We've hit on that point before. We've hit on the point of the fathers who customize their daughters for themselves, even though they're not going to be dating them.
Right.
The dads that take their daughters on the first date, if he doesn't do all these things for you, he doesn't deserve your attention.
You grown. You
40. We get mad at the girl for dating a dude that's her father's age. Like, you groomed her to do that. You told her if he can't set you up the way I set you up, you don't need to be with him. Well, daddy, you was 30 when you set her up like that. So now she's 19 with a 32-year-old. And you're like, nah, baby, that's too old. No, daddy, that's what you said. That's what you raised.
This is what we get when we have no idea how to be black men.
And our value systems, and this is what I mean by the power of culture. The advent of reality TV and social media have totally distorted expectations for dating so much that people are withdrawing from dating. Like the whole notion of what a courtship is, nobody even knows or understands what it is. The whole notion of trying to build, and the whole notion of duty, like that comes with it, like a response. No, we have the get out of jail free card all the time, and so there's no glue holding this house together
at all. It's rickety in the mud.
A stiff breeze knocks it down every time, and we're not honest about that. And I think that Joe, I think you covered something brilliant the other day, man. I'm going to tell you when you covered Amos Wilson, and he was talking about
feel good history.
The feel good history. Good Lord, we love to tell stories that make us. We love to tell stories that make us feel good. We love to tell stories that's prideful. We love to be on Negro Jeopardy, where we can talk and spew all the facts about this, that, and the other, and answer all the questions. But the bottom line is it making our situation better? Are we doing a thoughtful analysis to critique it? Are we critiquing all the failures of the leaders? Listen, I love Malcolm X to life, but I can critique a lot of the shit he did. All right. Dr. King, all the greats. I can look at they were brilliant men, they were great this, that, but they were not flawless.
Nobody has had the answer. Everybody just had a piece.
They failed. They failed at their objective. They inspired, but they failed at their objectives. And we don't want to even acknowledge that.
We were having a conversation on a Saturday stream. Some dudes, the Petty Pan African, this is like his handle name, but talking about feel good history, we were saying that we have no examples in the history of black people of how to defeat white supremacy. And the buddy was like, yeah, we do. It's the Haitian Revolution. No, it's not.
Temporarily.
How do you? But my question was, so if that was a victory, how did they end up paying them billions of dollars? How do you pay billions of dollars to somebody you whoop?
Well, I mean, and I mean, let's give them their credence. They did win the first war.
They won the war.
It was an ongoing conflict.
That's what I'm saying. They won a war.
And they were sabotaged later on and lost power. A lot of treachery and so forth.
Which was a tactic by the white people.
But it consistently, listen, white folk don't really allow into the lexicon, don't allow into the stratosphere real success stories of black people winning over them. Right. They always tell the story with us coming up short at the end. And then, it was a valiant effort. Right? And that's another thing too. When men are judged by the nations they build, by the nations they hold tight. That's what the whole notion of the men stand for, some level of prestige in regards to their nation, God and nation. And when you look at the black community, until recently, we didn't even try to identify as our own separate entity in the world.
Right. It took to be disrespected by other groups of people for us to take that on, because remember, we were some of the few ones having the conversation saying it's okay to be Black American. We were in the minority of saying that. So you're right.
Yeah. Before it became popular, we were talking about the fact that we are a new group. We're a new breed of people. You know, and in this new breed of people, it is all right for us to have been getting it wrong, but it's damn time for us to get to figure out why we're getting it wrong and to get it right. And if not, then we might as well scrap this whole notion of this. We might as well just try to blend in like everybody else. We might, like the Star Trek, we might as well join the white supremacist Borg. You know what I'm saying? Assimilation. What they say, assimilation is what do they say? You're going to be assimilated in any attempt to something, I forget what it was, but it says obsolete. Basically speaking, we're going to melt you in this pot whether you want to or not. And that's where too many of us are comfortable with being. And that's another thing too, Joe. You and Pat, I think when he said, we're very comfortable where we are.
Yeah.
We're very comfortable where we are. Like, this is home. Shit is crazy, man. I'm done talking.
No, but I appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate y'all because I called Pat earlier because I wasn't sure which clip I wanted to go with. It was either this clip or a clip of a white lady talking about white Christian nationalism, trying to expose others. But based off the conversation last night, and then I'm gonna tell you off air about the text message I got.
They made it personal.
Man, you know how black folk be. But I'm glad we had this conversation because it furthers Tuesday night's conversation, and it also makes us three dig deeper into analyzing us and studying us even more and what really happened to us and how it happened and like real effects, because Black men have never been able to self-actualize as Black men. Black women have never been able to self-actualize as Black women. So you got two groups of people who are in survival mode, scrapping, have been beat down, stepped on, peed on, boo-booed on, and all the atrocities you can think has happened to us. And then we make babies and all these messes, and the epigenetics, and they're continuing to have their ACEs, and then adult trauma, and just all these things just going over. Once, like I said earlier, if you're a black man and Black woman, y'all come together and you have a healthy relationship, bless your heart, bless y'all, because that's not the norm, and I doubt that has ever been the norm. Yeah, we got work to do. No, but in this is I want to say it's kind of disparaging. I ain't even gonna front. It's kind of disparaging because it's like we're going around on the hamster wheel, like you said earlier, scrambling for answers, and we don't even know where to get the answers from.
We do know where to get the answers from. We just don't want to because we're cool with where we are. Well, because you have to sacrifice. I mean,
the us's know where to get the answers from, but the Negroes. Well, and once again, because by design, because of what we have more Negroes than we have Black people.
Well, the life raft ain't big enough for everybody, so
hey, man, you know how we do it, man. Hey, Professor Carl, Tone Jones, Patrick Irvin, man, y'all give them a round of applause. Y'all know how we do over here, man. Yeah, I got these sounds now. I'm finna use them. I'm finna get me some more sounds, make this thing happen. FetLifeStation.com. If you don't go to FetLife, yeah. So go to FetLifeStation.com. I'm gonna use them two sounds until I get some more. Okay. So go to FetLifeStation.com. Make sure you check out PC and support what he got going on. Also go to thepax.org. A lot of work have been put into that website to make sure we have the information that we need for ourselves to critically analyze and learn and grow as a people. Even though it's an uphill battle, and you already know ontheshoulders1.com. Make sure you check it out. All the information that I have, videos, everything about what we're doing on over here, and continue to support PC. Continue to support Pat. Their cash apps and stuff is in the description. Please support my brethren, and shout out to everybody who is continuing to support this channel, continuing to ride with us, and we're growing. We're getting over the hump. YouTube shadow banning, but we pushing through. So let's go ahead and do how we do what we do when we do. Hey, we love y'all. Let's be better black people. We out.